Hello students, so here Ruminder Kaur and we are going to start with our third lecture and it is the chapter number 3 Plant Kingdom. Let's talk about bryophytes. As in the previous lectures, we have talked about the basic introduction of all the different divisions of plantae, and in the second video lecture we have finished with algae, which are classified further into three parts: green algae, brown algae and red algae. So let's talk about what are bryophytes, why they are known as amphibians of plant kingdom, their basic characteristics, their mode of reproduction and their life cycle. So let's start with it. If you see in the top left corner, bryophytes look like a simple thallus structure. As in algae, similarly, bryophytes do not have true roots, stems, and leaves. So the plant body is known as thallus. They can be included into two parts. One are mosses and second are liverworts. Yet they can easily grow in moist shaded areas in the hills. They can easily grow both in the water as well as on the land. So in the second picture, you can see how they are growing in the water. In this diagram, which is given in your book, you can see the first diagram is of Markensia. So here it is written, it is a liverwort. Bryophytes are divided into two categories, liverworts and mosses. Markensia is one of the common example of the liverwort. So let's study. They have one important structures which are known as gamma cups. Then they have root-like structures by which they are attached to the surface or any solid surface, or if they are growing in water, these structures are known as rhizoids. The whole green surface which you see, which look like a leaf, so it is a thallus. And the important characteristic feature that they have are special structures that is called as archegoniophore, and if they are present on the female thallus, then we call it as archegoniophore, and if they are present on the male thallus, then we call it as anthridiophore. If you remember, generally in the flowering plants, we call anthers as the male parts. So in this way, you can remember that on the male thallus, anthridiophore are the special structures which can produce male gametes. And archegoniophores, these are the female structures which can produce female gametes. Now let's come to these diagrams of mosses. One is of Funaria and second is of Sphagnum. Funaria diagram is very important. It consists again a root-like structures called as rhizoids, then main axis from which leaves are appearing. Then from the leaves, one long stalk is going upside and ending into a capsule-like structure, and that thick or thin stem is called as seta. So it is looking like a stem and it is known as seta. Now what do you mean by sporophyte and gametophyte body? First of all, if we say a plant body gives rise to spores, means some structure should be there that can make spores, and that structure is called as sporophytes. And secondly, if we say gametes are produced, so from where gametes are produced, that structure is known as gametophyte. So students, I am repeating, Funaria diagram is very important. Number fourth diagram is of Sphagnum, in which you can see now little bit complicated structure have started coming as compared to algae. They have archegonial branches, means the branches now they are profused. Profused means they are divided into different parts. They have antheridial branches. Antheridial branches means which are going upwards, and they have many leaflet-like structures. So the branches are very profused in Sphagnum. Why bryophytes are called as amphibians of plant kingdom? A very important question. So simply because they can live in soil means they can grow on the soil, on the land, but they are also dependent upon water for sexual reproduction. So they can grow either on land or inside water, but they require water as a medium for fertilization. In algae also, water as a medium was required for fertilization. If the question comes why, you have to justify that reason because the gametes which are produced by the female thallus, they will be present inside the plant and the male gametes are released in the water. So the fertilization can takes place only inside the water. So water is very important medium. That's why they require moisture, humidity around them. They play an important role in plant succession on bare rocks or soil. What do you mean by bare rocks or soil? Banjar. Bare means where nothing is grown, neither a plant nor fungus. So, how a succession? Succession means how the planting can be started by its own. How the forest come to in existence from deserts. Can it happen? Yes. Deserts can be converted gradually, means slowly, and they can succeed into a forest. So, number first species which start growing on a bare land are lichens. We all know lichens are the association, symbiotic relationship of algae and fungus. So, when they are growing, they release some acidic substances. So, because of that acids, the rocks they can get corroded, and you all know that lead to weathering. So, soil will get formed, and when soil will be there, it will lead to more fertility, more humus, and then mosses can start growing on those areas. So that's why these mosses, these Markensia, liverworts and bryophytes, they play very important role in conversion of a bare land or a desert into a forest. Now, let's talk about the plant body of bryophytes, how it is differentiated from Thallophyta or algae. Now it is thallus like. It can be prostrate or erect, means the body can simply lie vertically or it could be horizontal on the surface. And how it is attached to the substratum? Underline what is substratum? Substratum is the surface. Let's say if we say bryophytes are grown on the rocks. So who is the substratum in this case? Rocks are the substrate. Rhizoids can be made up of single cell structure or they can be made up of multicellular structure. Obviously, as in algae, even bryophytes do not have true roots, they do not have true stem, and they do not have true leaves. So, what is the meaning of true? True means like the angiosperms or the flowering plants, taproot, fibrous root, venation leaves are there. But in these cases, these true vegetative parts are absent. But they contain root like rhizoids, leaf like frond, and stem like other parts such as stipe, and main plant body is always haploid. This is very important and very new to you. As in the previous lecture also I have told you about different cell divisions, mitosis and meiosis. Haploid means single set of chromosomes. Diploid means double set of chromosomes, pair of chromosomes. Human beings and almost every animal is diploid in nature. Then only sexual reproduction takes place. Both the parents they give rise to their gametes, and when gametes fuse, zygote is formed. So zygote is always diploid, but the bryophyte plant body is always haploid. So this is very important. You have to learn it that bryophyte body is haploid. It is only N. What it will do? It will produce gametes. So gametes, How can gametes be n by 2? They can't be. So gametes will be n. So which division is taking place? When bryophyte is also n and gametes are also n. How many gametes will be produced? 2 gametes, right? So n, they can be produced by mitosis, which is equational division. So that part of the bryophyte which give rise to gametes is called as gametophyte. So there are two plant body structures. One is gametophyte and other is sporophyte. I am repeating, gametophyte is haploid and it produces the gametes. If the question comes here, which plant body is dominant in bryophytes? Your answer should be gametophyte structure is dominant in bryophytes. So the different sex organs. So what do you mean by sex organs? Those structures which can give rise to two different kind of gametes. They are always multicellular. In male, that is called as antheridium, right? As we have already talked about anthridiophore. In this diagram also, you can see one is male thallus and second is female thallus. The first one is anthridiophore, male thallus. Second is archegoniophore, female thallus, right? So according to the kind of gametes which they are present, they are termed as male thallus or the female thallus. So which kind of gametes they will produce? They will produce antherozoids. Actually, antherozoids can be called as anthers. Then why we are not calling it as anthers? Because anthers are the complex structures which are produced by the flowering plants. Because these bryophytes are very simple in nature as compared to gymnosperms and angiosperms. So naming is little bit different from those structures. Coming to second part, female sex organ is called as archegonium or archegoniophore. It is a flask shaped structure and it will produce only a single egg. So it is similar as to the humans also. Egg is always produced in single entity and sperms are produced in bulk. Why so? Because male gametes have to travel to the female body part. That's why they are released more in number. So antherozoids, they are released into water. Who is releasing antherozoids? Anthridiophore or antheridium, right? And they will come in contact with archegonium. What is archegonium? It is a female sex organ. So what will be the next step? The antherozoid will fuse with the egg and what is going to form? Zygote. I am repeating, gametophyte is haploid in nature. It will produce the gametes. Gametes will also be haploid. But when two gametes will fuse, means male gamete and female gamete. How can we write it? N plus N. What will be the result? 2N. So zygote is always diploid. Either in plants or in animals or in humans. You have to note down this point. Gametes are always haploid and zygote is always diploid. These two sentences will never change. Gametes are haploid and zygote is diploid in nature. The plant body, gametophyte or sporophyte, they can vary. They can either be haploid or they can be diploid. Now, usually in our case in humans or in higher plants or animals, zygote undergo reductional division, right? But here zygote will not undergo any reductional division. So what will happen? Reductional division, if there will be no reductional division, zygote is 2N. What will be the next plant body structure? That will also be 2N. And we will not call it as gametophyte. We will call it as sporophyte structure. So sporophyte is the second plant body of the bryophytes which is always diploid in case of bryophytes. I hope this is clear. Gametophyte is haploid. Gametes are always haploid. Zygote is always diploid and sporophyte here in bryophytes is diploid. It is not free living. Sporophyte is not free living. It is attached to the gametophyte structure, as we have already seen. In this case of a moss such as Funaria, we have seen sporophyte is the upper part and gametophyte is the lower part. So gametophyte is haploid which has produced the gametes, and sporophyte is the structure which has produced from the gametes. Sporophyte is always attached to the gametophyte structure. Now let's see further how they have done the classification. They have talked about bryophytes. They have very little commercial importance, but some of the mosses, they can act as the food for many mammals, birds or other animals. The last one, sphagnum, which we have talked about, they provide a peat. Peat means organic material that can be used as a fuel and even for packing material because it has a large water holding capacity. They can even attach with lichens, as we have talked about. The lichens are the first organism that can grow on bare land and mosses are the second organism. Then they can decompose the rocks by making more suitability of the soil to make it more fertile, and they can also even form dense mats on the soil, reduce the impact of falling rain and prevent soil erosion. Bryophytes, they are further divided into liverworts and mosses. So in the next video lecture, we are going to study about liverworts and mosses. How do they vary from each other? What are their gametophyte and sporophytic body structures? So till then, thank you students.